morning and welcome to Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends at the Get Go Cafe and Market, where you can get fresh. That's the word here. Fresh food.
Fresh food. You
like
get the
around
lunch,
the clock,
man,
literally.
Those lunch specials. You can get the burgers, you get dogs, you get chicken tenders.
Yeah, you
chicken
can
tenders
also
are fresh.
roll in there at 3 a.m. like some of us and get genuinely fresh fruit. It's good stuff. Let's
That's
talk
awesome.
about good football.
Great football.
Theoretically,
Yes.
the other night
Woo.
with the Rams and the Chiefs.
Haymaker after haymaker.
Why'd you like it?
It was so much
Did it
fun.
make you uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable? Why would it make me? I'm sitting there as a fan just popping my popcorn and just be like, this is
Do you like
awesome.
college football?
Yes, I do actually. I like college football.
I don't.
But see, here's the thing. It wasn't
That was
just
college football.
No, it wasn't. And here's why. Because in the Big 12, you have those guys. You saw when Oklahoma.
You brought up the Big 12,
Yes,
not me.
Yes, I'm saying the Big 12 because that's the college football that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
When you saw them go up against the SEC, you saw Georgia's linemen just smush them over, and that's the difference. Those front fours were getting after each
How
other.
many points?
It was 54-51, but there were three
105
defensive touchdowns. Aaron Donald went buck wild.
So
they intercepted Patrick Mahomes 3 times.
Right.
And
the Lakers ended up winning. I get it.
Lakers. No.
This is what ends up happening though when you tilt the scales too much.
I agree that there's
Okay.
too much help to the offense. I agree with that assessment.
If your defense was performing
Okay.
as well, and I trust you, obviously, in this regard, as you say, then that defense should be rewarded, not just with takeaways, but with the ability to stop, with the ability to get the 3 and out. I understand they're both facing elite offenses on either side of the sidelines.
Those two quarterbacks are setting up to be the Brady and Manning of the future.
And those quarterbacks are off to very nice starts in
Yes.
their careers. RG3, RG3, RG3.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
We don't know yet. We just don't.
That's fine.
But what bugs me is that defense, good defense, great defense, should be rewarded with 3 and outs. That's part of football, and that's being taken away. That bugs me.
I don't argue
Not
with that.
necessarily this specific game.
I don't argue with that
Okay.
notion. I do think the rules need to be altered, but that was a great game.
I'm not going to dispute it. I was in a plane. The Penguins need a goaltender, so I've come to Taylor. Not to play goal, but who can play goal? Anybody.
Yeah, Tristan Jarry. I mean, he's obviously the starter in Wilkes-Barre. He might be the answer to their depth scoring.
Oh boy.
He scored.
Let's see, how many guys on the Penguins' current roster would he have tied?
I don't want to know. Well, I mean, he has
They probably
more
don't want to
than
know.
he has more than a few guys. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, he scored. It was the first goaltender goal in Wilkes-Barre Scranton history, the 14th in AHL history.
Then of course some other dude in the AHL scored like just a few days
Yeah,
after that.
it's funny. Well, and then and it's also funny because Jarry 2 weeks prior to that had a really clear shot at the goal. He took another shot. He was initially awarded a goal, but what had happened was the other goaltender wasn't quite off the ice, and he had thrown his stick. So they you would award a
the
penalty
goal.
shot.
Yeah.
But then you look at the AHL rules, and it's something like if the goaltender is not fully off the ice, then you can't just award an automatic goal. So he got it taken back. But yeah.
Is he stopping pucks?
He's doing well. He's starting most of their games.
But he wasn't though, right? Wasn't there a point there where Anthony Peters was outplaying him?
Yeah,
which has become, by the way, kind of a common refrain in Jarry's AHL career. Is that he's not always.
I mean, he
even when
lost the other net to Casey DeSmith.
There's a reason DeSmith is here now over
Yeah,
him.
well, that's this past season was Jarry's first real playoff run because the first one.
Sure.
He lost the net to. He kind of got burned out at the end of the season.
In the
net.
pros, in the juniors, he won the championship
Yeah.
with the Edmonton Oil Kings.
Yeah, early in the season, I mean, Anthony Peters was really hot, and they kind of rode him for a while. Jarry, his numbers aren't anything spectacular, but a lot of that is him just getting hung out to dry.
Oh,
If you watch the tape, it's a lot better than his numbers.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Of course, that also gives him something in common with the guys in Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd bring him up to Pittsburgh right away. People are calling for him.
Well, hang on a second, because you're also our expert in the area of ups and downs here. I don't even know this. Can DeSmith go down?
He requires waivers, so I mean they would lose him.
Do you think they would though? I mean, maybe.
If you look, I honestly don't know.
You know what I mean? Like if somebody would claim him.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look, I don't know around the rest of the league if any other NHL teams have injuries at goaltender right now, or like have really weak backups.
Somebody could snap him up though.
That's why it's easier to send guys like that down, like training camp.
Yeah.
Because when teams are healthy, but right now, I mean, you'd lose to Smith. But yeah, so you'd have to carry 3 goaltenders. There's no other option.
Well,
yeah.
Teams have done that too, including just recently the Minnesota Wild did that, where I was actually in the Wild's locker room. This was a couple of years ago. It's so weird that you're in there in a regular season setting and there's 3 goalies in there getting dressed.
Wilkes-Barre did that themselves last year.
But they do it just for roster reasons, for CBA reasons.
Yeah. I mean, there's really no other option. You can maybe bring him up for a few games, but
Can you imagine that in Pittsburgh, though? Walking in there and there's Matt Murray with 2 Stanley Cup rings, and he's got 2, not 1, but 2 backups dressing in the same room. They don't even have a third goalie stall, by the way.
No, you'd have to set up the extra
give him a
temporary
folding chair
one.
or something, right?
Yeah, I just don't really know what you'd do with Jari. If someone gets hurt, he'd be a good, I think, long-term solution to come up.
He's just got to do what they've asked, and that's to get better.
Yeah.
Penguins have had all kinds of problems in November. Is the system one of them?
I don't think so.
Why?
I think this is a system that's obviously worked pretty well for them in the past.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's also the same system that a lot of teams around the league are using. The Penguins are sort of, pretty much put a patent on that one.
But then when other teams start using it and they start becoming more familiar with it, the shock value wears off in terms of the preparation for them. There's any number of teams now that are doing the hard pinch, the defenseman, and having the forward circle back. That's the part to me. Everyone talks about the Penguins' speed or lack of speed. Are they fast enough to play the system anymore? To me, it's much more about the fact that a lot of teams are using that system, and therefore other teams have an easier time preparing for it.
That's probably a fair point. And you mentioned a good point about we talk a lot about the team speed. It's also moving the puck quicker. And I think that's one of the ways you can counter maybe players getting a little bit older. And not saying that the Penguins are that old, but they're certainly getting a little bit older. But you have to, that's up to Mike Sullivan. I mean, this is a guy who gets paid a lot of money to figure out how to, beat his own system, basically. And if defensemen are pinching, maybe you have to have the defenseman carry a little more instead of being, just a puck moving defenseman, maybe a carrying defenseman.
Okay, continuing to play devil's advocate here, though, with you. If it's up to Sullivan, what's he doing?
Well,
what's he changing?
Well, that's another part of the equation, is because he is a stubborn man.
Oh!
And he's a guy who believes wholeheartedly in his system.
He believes in what he believes.
Yes,
right.
And I think ultimately he's going to have to be that pitcher who's maybe losing something on the fastball, and he's going to have to start, painting the black corners. He's going to have to try to figure out how to get around.
But even then, though, Chris, he'd have to acknowledge that the team has gotten slower. And better than anyone from asking him questions about the team's speed, what his reaction is to that. He hates it.
That is one sore
he
spot
hates
with
it.
Mike Sully. He does not like to hear about his team's mortality, I'll say. But at some point, I think it's going to dawn on him that, hey, Sidney Crosby's going to be 32 next year.
But he's not yet. I'm kind of with Sully on the speed thing, because I keep bringing this up. You and I were up there in Canada when they were taking on these super fast all-children teams and mowing them down. Well, they didn't do that because they were slower and smarter. They did it because they skated with them. They just played a smart game.
That's a big part of it, it's just playing a smarter game, making better decisions. A lot of the things that Sullivan also talks about, playing on the right side of pucks and being tough on the puck and stuff like that. And when the Penguins have had this, we'll say, 3 weeks now of bad hockey, that's been part of the problem.
No question.